Welcome back. The head of the UN mission in the Central African Republic says despite ongoing challenges in the country, there has been significant progress achieved in various areas. Briefing the council members via video link, he says the road towards peace and reconciliation will not be an easy one and that the international community must work with the government to ensure that the peace process does not fail.
Reconciliation will not be an easy one, as demonstrated by many peace processes that have come before in CAR and faltered. We in the international community must work with the government of the Central African Republic to ensure that this peace process is people-centered and does not fail. We must be patient, we must be realistic, and we must put in place the critical conditions that will give the African initiative the greatest chance to succeed. While the current situation remains unpredictable and precarious, I believe that progress achieved in various areas of the foundations laid are essential ingredients that can help bring about sustainable peace in CAR. We must redouble efforts to ensure that the remaining challenges are timely and fully addressed. We must do everything possible to ensure the peace process succeeds.
It is crucial that all actors remain fully focused on peace and reconciliation. The solution to the crisis is political and not military. The European Union, for its part, is committed to maintaining its substantial engagement in support of the Central African Republic, as expressed not later than last week by the European Union foreign ministers in Brussels.
In Somalia, the only free ambulance service in the capital is under threat of closure. Hamin Ambulance, which has a fleet of 16 ambulances, can only afford to operate 10 on a regular basis in Mogadishu, which suffers regular bomb attacks. The founder of the service says if the service stops, it will be difficult to save victims' lives. There are no other publicly funded health services in Somalia. Amin, which means faithful, was started in 2006 and has become a vital part of the emergency services responding to attacks from Al-Shabaab militants. It is run by about 30 volunteers, including telephone operators, drivers, nurses and medical students. Many of them put their own lives at risk by going into an area that is still under attack to get the injured out. A new United Nations report has detailed abuses being committed against civilians in South Sudan's Western Equatoria region, following fighting in the regions this year. The study indicates that abductions, forced child soldier recruits, and sexual slavery of girls were orchestrated by both government and rebel forces.
A new report on the conflict in South Sudan's western region of Equatoria indicates that abductions, forced child soldier recruits, and sexual slavery of girls as young as 12 years old continue to take place in the region. The joint report by the United Nations Human Rights Office and the United Nations Mission in South Sudan describes the plight of civilians caught up in the fighting, highlighting cases of abuse committed by the opposition and of violations committed by the Sudan People's Liberation Army against civilians. The report documents attacks in at least 28 villages, where almost 900 civilians were abducted. 505 of them are women and girls.
The report is covering our investigation that we've made in Tambura and Budewe State in Western Equatoria, where government forces and IO Riek Machar forces have targeted civilians in that specific conflict. And we were able to document that the IO Riek Machar have abducted like 900 of people. Majority of them are women and children, and some of them were forced there were some forced recruitment, but also a number of girls who were abducted, and they were thereafter being raped.
The report notes that both opposition groups, SPLA-10, led by Riek Machar, and government forces are liable for attacks on civilians, which has led to the displacement of more than 24,000 people. The report cites serious violations and abuses of international human rights and humanitarian law, including abductions, rape, sexual slavery, forced displacement, which may amount to war crimes.
The issue of accountability remains one of the main topics in agenda in South Sudan, where we are not yet there, and this is really something that needs to be addressed very quickly. Of course, one of the recommendations is also to make sure that there is a program to make sure that recovery and resilience for people in this particular area is going to be taken into account. And there is a very good program that was initiated by the UN that should be implemented with the support of the entire UN. And that, I think that will help also for the youth to get some job opportunities, because it's also about that.
South Sudan plunged into warfare 2 years after independence from Sudan in 2011, when a political dispute between Kiir and then Vice President Riek Machar erupted into armed confrontation. Kiir signed a peace agreement with rebel factions in the Ethiopian capital last month to end a civil war that has killed at least 50,000 people, displaced 2 million, and held up the country's progress since it gained independence 7 years ago. United Nations peacekeepers continue to protect civilians targeted in clashes in parts of the country.
From the Norwegian seas to many soup pots, the stockfish, with its unique smell and taste, has become a must-have in the menu of many homes and restaurants in Nigeria. For the first time, the Norwegians are holding a seafood festival in Nigeria to solidify this age-long relationship. Take a look.
They may be thousands of miles apart, but there's one food that unites Norway and Nigeria: the stockfish, the most important and expensive tastemaker in a Nigerian soup. The story goes that the dried fish were made popular during the Nigerian Civil War. In response to people, and especially children, dying from starvation, the Norwegian government sent stockfish as a relief food. Several decades after the war, and the stockfish has continued to be an essential feature of Nigerian cuisine and traditional marriage ceremonies. At the Oyingbo market in the commercial city of Lagos, stockfish seller Moses Chinwekem says the fact this Nigerian staple is imported is irrelevant.
Fish is fish. I get my point. Be it imported or exported. I get my point. So, the major thing there is stockfish is something that we have grown to love. I get my point. In traditional marriages, when you go there, you're asked to bring the stockfish again. So, it's very, very important to us.
The importance of the Norwegian-Nigerian relationship was underlined recently when the Norwegian Seafood Council launched a one-day seafood festival in Nigeria. The event, which will be annual, has the aim of introducing other fish species, paying tribute to the long tradition of trade, and explore new opportunities in the country.
Well, we are far apart countries. We are up in the north and you are down in the south, but we have done this business for over 100 years. 1898, the first stockfish was imported to Nigeria. So we have done this for a long time, and Nigeria is important to us as a market because it's the second largest market of stockfish in the world. It's only Italy that have more stockfish than Nigeria.
Nigeria imports between 6,000 to 9,000 tons of stockfish annually. The festival also featured a contest to find out the best Nigerian stockfish recipe.
I'm suddenly hungry. Thanks for watching. I'm Teniola Shoboale.